Hey, Yanni, I have brought a guest with me.
This is all so new to me. I'm so used to it just being the two of us on Tarkatan Bitesized Episodes.
I know, I brought Mr. Midnight Owl back on. He was our Mortal Kombat leaker who joined us on our last Realm Kast.
For the movie.
Yep.
Well, happy to have you back, Mr. Midnight Owl.
Glad to be back.
The reason I brought you guys on here, I don't know if you've heard, but there are talks that Wonder Woman is going to be pushed back. Right now, it currently has a release date of October 2nd, 2020. And just because, movie theaters in LA and movie theaters in New York are still closed, they're talking about moving that back to, I think they were saying possibly into November or late December. And that's not good because that in turn is probably going to be pushing back Dune. Dune was supposed to be releasing in December
18th of this year.
Yeah, that's right. So if Dune gets pushed back, guess what that means for Mortal Kombat?
I mean, it's no surprise, is it?
Yeah, I know.
It's exactly what you and I have been saying this whole time. It's most likely going to get pushed back. And honestly, I think as we mentioned last time, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Part of the main issue right now is the amount of tentpole films that still do not have definite releases. And I think they're all going to get crunched together into a very short window.
Yeah, and Mr. Midnight Owl, you kind of mentioned this too on the Realm Kast. There is a good chance of getting pushed back with everything going on with the pandemic, and then all these other movies getting pushed back. It's more than likely we're not going to be seeing our release date as expected. All three of these movies that I mentioned are all Warner Brothers movies. So if they're pushing back one, they're going to be pushing back the rest.
Yeah, this affects the whole schedule.
Yeah. If you didn't know, Tenet is also a Warner Brothers release. And right now, I'm sure they are really trying to figure out what to do with it. Part of the reason for Wonder Woman getting pushed back was to clear the slate and allow Tenet to slowly get revenue, because it only made $20 million over the weekend. And I believe the projected revenue was $50 million. So it was only 40% of what they were projecting, even with the current conditions.
That's interesting, too, because we're seeing the market kind of shift to putting more emphasis on the slow burn of the releases. Before, it was opening weekend was when they would recuperate a lot of their loss of creating these movies. And now they're just letting them play as long as they can to try to get as many people to watch them as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there was a recent movie which was released twice just so it could break. What was it? The Avengers, actually? That was
that's right.
Twice.
Yeah, Endgame. Yeah, Endgame came out twice. Another thing too is that there, a lot of people are saying, well, just move Wonder Woman to online release, make it a streaming service with HBO Go or something like this. But that brings into play some of the things we've seen with some of these other movies, like Mulan, which has just recently released. And as far as I know, Mulan hasn't done that well for Disney Plus.
But I feel that's not just because of the time, the ongoing pandemic, but that's also due to many political issues that the film is dealing with.
Yeah, because they, the actress for Mulan has come out and gave support to China versus Hong Kong in the whole China-Hong Kong debate, and that's raised a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah, but as far as I know as well, bear in mind it's Mulan, right? So people are expecting, Disney version of Mulan, and they've removed a lot of those elements. But then on top of that, they were pushing for it to be this authentic cast and production crew and everything. And then as so many people seem to be focused right now on ethnicities of people involved, and everybody's complaining that it's mostly white people. And so that's not exactly helping either. Yeah, in Mulan.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought it was mostly Asians.
In terms of cast, yes. In terms of the actual crew, no. And that seems to be something that people care about now. So
interesting.
I definitely get the importance, but that is one issue that it seems to be facing right now as well, which is probably not helping.
It is kind of an odd fact, because I remember when they filmed the 1995 Mortal Kombat, they used a lot of crew hired in Thailand when they shot the movie.
Also with Mulan, they released it on Disney Plus, but it was an additional $20 or $30 charge if you wanted to watch it on top of your Disney Plus fees. So
like a movie, basically.
Yeah, pretty much one that you're watching at home. And most people don't want to pay extra if they're already paying for something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was always going to go down badly.
And that's been something that the studios have been messing around with throughout the entire year. Because I know there was quite a few movies that were supposed to come out or did come out right at the beginning of the pandemic, and they were getting thrown onto the streaming services, but you had to pay $20 or $30 and you got that rental.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
It seemed like it catered off, it seemed like it disappeared just because there was only so many movies that were finished that they did that kind of release for. But now that we're getting back into when they were projecting a lot of these releases for theaters, you're starting to see it come back as the only form of release that they can do.
And at first, it did pretty well for a lot of these places. Like Trolls Worldwide ended up being a huge success for the company that released that. But that, again, was at the beginning of all of this, and people were kind of starving for new content. And at this point, people are kind of eager to get back into the theaters.
Yeah, but I mean, how can they really be surprised at, say, Tenet not performing as expected? Like, okay, firstly, yes, you did project lower numbers than you normally would have expected, but come on, look at the global situation here. Even releasing it full stop was a mistake, in my opinion, and I don't see how anyone's surprised by this.
Have either of you been to the movie theaters since all this began?
No. I barely leave my house unless I need to for work or for groceries. That's it.
Yeah, I haven't either. In fact, the only movies I plan to go see is at a local event that they're doing next month.
I went and saw New Mutants the other day at the movie theater.
Oh,
and
I didn't realize it was out.
Yeah, so it came out, and it came out to theaters only. That's something else. They've kind of shifted to, rather than trying to release them dually, and they're still playing around with this formula, but a lot of companies have come out and said, we're going to release in theater and kind of go back to the old ways because of the fact that movie theaters do provide so much support to the industry. So I went and saw New Mutants, and the theater was empty. It was only me. And the concession stand closed as soon as I got there. So I managed to get some nachos that they microwaved for me and a drink. And then besides that, I had to wear my mask the entire time I was in the theater. So it was not an enjoyable experience as it used to be.
Right? This is exactly why I'm so shocked at them pushing for all these theater releases. It makes no sense. I mean, Also, were those numbers for worldwide or just American?
Tenet was American release only. That was for the number 20 million. They were projecting, like I said, I believe 50 million for the US. I think worldwide might be 150, but there's some markets that are doing, a lot better than what we are.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. You got to take into account the situation in different countries with regards to just the pandemic itself, let alone opening theaters. So again, none of this is surprising to me. And of course, I really hope they learn from this for the actual Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, I hope we get to see it at this point.
and that kind of ties into something I was talking about on Twitter, which was regarding the numbers for Tenet and the expectation for the movie, because it was highly anticipated and it ended up only earning 20 million opening weekend. And I know a lot of fans have been really excited, really passionate about this movie, and they're constantly worried about the lack of marketing. And the unfortunate thing is when you make a movie and you release it, the typical calculations for success or failure is that a movie needs to make back twice its budget plus additional profit. Typically, any more marketing is around equal to a movie's budget. So while we haven't seen any of the marketing yet, I would imagine once it does kick into effect, you're going to see ads, trailers, posters all over the place. I mean, it's probably going to get to the point where you can't even watch a YouTube video without a Mortal Kombat trailer appearing before it.
It's better than most of the ads I get.
And That's a great point too. We have not seen any kind of marketing material for Mortal Kombat, and we are supposed to be 4 months out now at this point.
Yeah,
Not
about
even a
4
trailer.
months.
Nothing.
Well, that also comes through the Motion Picture Association of America. I believe they ruled around 4+ years ago that a movie can only release a trailer about 6 months out from release. And that was actually due to so many theater goers getting angry at all those 3 and 4 minute long trailers where they essentially gave away the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some changes within the MPAA regarding what you can actually put in a trailer, how much story you can actually release, and the timeline for release of marketing materials. So that's both a benefit to audience goers. So for us, we shouldn't have to worry about the entire plot of the Mortal Kombat movie getting spoiled for us. But also that means that we can't get those teaser trailers most of the time, like an hour out or a year out from release. And you look at how Dune is supposed to get released in December, and we just now got a trailer.
Yeah, but I do feel that the Dune trailer actually showed me the entire movie. I almost stopped halfway through and was just like, okay, this looks awesome. I've been very excited for this, but if I watch any more, do I need to watch it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dune's one of those things you can read like 6 times and still want to read it again.
Yes.
All right. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about on this topic?
Just the fact that we're not really getting anything about Mortal Kombat, even in terms of news. Forget a trailer and stuff. I understand that they can't release too much information right now, but something. There's been almost no talk on MK full stop, but then the movie itself should be something that you would expect some news of. The most I think that we've seen is Louis Tan just tweeting a bit about the movie.
Yeah, and he's done a couple interviews.
And then Greg Russo once in a while.
Just interviews that are very vague and don't really provide any information.
Well, there were 2 small bits that I managed to get a hold of this week, but they didn't seem like it. One was while we were talking on Twitter, I had mentioned about how I felt that because we didn't hear any news about issues on set, any delays, any production issues, and how the production was only like a 2-month filming schedule. Like that was pretty good. And I had remarked that I felt that was proof that Todd Garner's a really good producer because he was able to keep the film on track and make sure they got the coverage that they needed. And considering it's been a year since they started filming and we haven't heard anything about reshoots or additional filming. And I said, that's a good sign that he's a great producer. And he actually replied back saying that he's never worked on a film that didn't require any sort of additional photography.
Wow.
So that leads me to believe that they are going to be doing additional footage. Now, whether it's reshooting where they got to redo a couple scenes, or if it's just additional filming, maybe they're gonna add to the movie. Case in point, the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie actually extended the Johnny Cage versus Scorpion fight, which is what led to the Scorpion's lair, and they extended the Liu Kang versus Reptile fight, which didn't actually exist in the original script.
Yeah.
So there could be some changes like that with additional shooting. So that was one piece of information. So that leads me to believe they haven't gotten to that point. And the second thing is that yesterday Todd Garner tweeted out that he was starting shooting on, I think the movie's called Vacation Friends with John Cena. So he's already onto another project, or this is what he's doing while also working remotely to cover the post-production on Mortal Kombat. So that's kind of like a little interesting tidbit. So it sounds like it could go either way. Either he's on set in Atlanta filming a new movie while waiting to find out the consensus on what the status of Mortal Kombat is, whether they need to do more filming, more post-production, or whether it's already locked and good to go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, is 4 months enough time for them to get any additional footage they need and to record any additional scenes that they need and get that matted in production?
Let's say on average, a lot of additional filming could be 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what it is. They could be using a soundstage right in LA. It just really depends.
Yeah, and then also with a lot of LA pretty much closed down at the moment, that might cause issues on its own.
Yeah, but that's assuming that it's going forward for 4 months from now. If it's true that it is going to be delayed, which I really would not be surprised to hear, and honestly hope happens, then I think it should be fine, right? I mean, that would at least be a positive in terms of being able to fit more footage in if they are doing that.
If it gets delayed, though, there's going to be quite a bit of backlash from the fans at this point, especially since they pushed everything forward and then pushing it right back to where it was.
Yeah, but I don't think the fans should be like, oh, come on, we're fans ourselves, but we also have to be understanding of that there's a global pandemic right now. If you didn't expect things to be delayed, then you're not being reasonable here. This was the first thing that I think you and I said to each other when we first started talking about the movie, that honestly, with the situation as it is, it most likely will get delayed by a slight amount at least. And if we're seeing other Warner Bros. Movies getting delayed, I would not be surprised if it happens to the Mortal Kombat movie either.
Yeah, I agree.
Leave a comment below. Let us know. What do you think? Would you be okay with a delay, or are you hoping to see this movie sooner? And if you are okay with a delay, tell us a little bit why. Thanks for joining us on this Tarkatan Bitesize, which was our first with a guest. Thank you so much to Brandon, Mr. Midnight Owl, for returning to join us on this episode. If you haven't seen our Realm Kast episode with Mr. Midnight Owl, check it out, as he provides a lot of new information on the 2018 version of the upcoming MK movie script. Let us know what you think of our discussion. Please like, follow, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much.